at the time, it was something that I really didn't like as much, but going through those motions and having those experiences when I look back upon was probably the best thing that I did because it just gave me such a unique perspective.
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and the wisdom of how they sold their first million.
So, what do you think? What can we do? Shall we send the founders to start their own restaurant first? I think that this is a good idea. At least a small food truck, yeah. So they have some idea how actually business works. So when they come and they have their own business, they understand
That's right.
how actually things work. So what do you think? Because that's the other thing, Mike. People take a lot of money. They're going to study an MBA. I always tell everybody that want to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars or whatever in an MBA. I said, listen, do you really want to learn about business? Open a restaurant. Do you think that could be one solution?
Well, some of those exist right now, and I agree with you that.
Really? Wow, that's a great idea. Yeah. Who has this idea? That's good.
Starting and running restaurants is the best MBA you can get. But
absolutely.
It's hard. Founders come in different shapes and sizes, right? And there's many great founders that come from, they come from a company, right? Where they're an operator.
I agree with you.
And they have domain expertise. And they're frustrated with how something's done, right?
Well, they come in same like you because you also came from corporate, Mike, yeah?
Right.
So you came from corporate, now you started your own business, but the first problem that you realize is that in your own business, you cannot tell anybody, this is not my job. You find out that everything was your job, right?
And so it's very hard. So it just, what it really requires from entrepreneurs is patience, and everyone's impatient. They want to work for themselves. They want to act on an idea, but you really have to let these ideas materialize. And the idea that, companies and our ideas fail because the idea that you may act on might not be the right one that doesn't resonate with the marketplace. Now, that doesn't mean you can't try again and succeed. We've seen people do that over and over. But it's really the strongest entrepreneurs aren't creating the idea and acting on it rapidly. They really have to take time to understand, like I said, work backwards to the customer and figure out how good this idea is. Can I build a product or service, team experience? And it's okay if a founder has a great idea, it's a great market, they're solving a problem, they understand the customer. The biggest thing about an entrepreneur that we look for is somebody needs to understand, they need to, one, know themselves really well and understand what are their strengths and weaknesses. And the real key is, when starting a company, is how do I offset my weaknesses with strengths? And that involves bringing in partners and or other people, advisors that can help you. Because if you're going to be going out there at this alone and you're going to have more weaknesses than strengths, that's going to be a problem as you try to evolve. And so self-reflection is very important for some of these founders, having humility as well. And we live in this day and age where you hear Elon Musk talk about they'll be the first trillionaire solopreneur.
Wow.
Some of these things can happen, yes. But in reality, they're very rare.
Yeah.
And listen, investing is the ultimate team sport, and starting companies is the ultimate team sport as well. As you get bigger, more people come into the fold. You have to know how to work together. You have to be organized for success. And so that really, all that starts from the founder and the team right from the beginning. And that's how culture is built, right? So you're building culture from the beginning, but it's really a point of that founder having the vision to understand where this thing may go and how can I bring in the right people to help execute this vision. Because eventually, if you're going to look to scale and, you're going to need to surround yourself with a team that can really help assist you here, because it's very hard to do it alone. Sure, there's some rare instances of that happening, but that's not the norm.
Tech is different. This is something that I always hear, Mike, when I started to advise tech companies. Yeah, they told me, no. You think that tech is like other businesses, but let me tell you something, Harry, tech is different. And I think that the more and more I know about tech, the more is more similar to a traditional business. I don't know. Every time uh, the only thing that is different is the valuation. Yeah, tech business have a large evaluation, that's for sure. That's why in this podcast on a stop of 5 step how to make your first million, 1 out of 5, 1 out of 6 entrepreneurs that we interviewed, they're tech multimillionaires. Now everybody listening to the show, they say, okay, if 5 or 6 people at the hard interview, they are tech entrepreneurs and they are millionaires, it should be easy become a millionaire in tech. And we don't want to send the wrong message out there. So Mike can share with you guys how actually what it's gonna take to exit and become a millionaire in tech, because you only hear the story of the people that succeed. Nobody never talks about the lot of people that fail. We don't want to discourage anyone, but tech is something that it has their own life. However, I think, or my opinion, yeah, the more I see tech nowadays in this DNA, like Mike said, the more I see the similarity of tech with the traditional business, because this is not like before that you write a piece of paper and a VC is going to give you $1 million. Now, if you don't have sales, if you don't have traction, if you don't have some track record, the VC is not going to give you money. That is my opinion. But and now the flavor of the day is AI. So now everybody put AI. I'm thinking that is going to encourage the VCs. On the other hand, Mike, the VCs, some of them have been misled because they hear this sound, AI, this and that. They say, oh, this is the new unicorn. And they invest without doing the proper due diligence and without seeing actually what the business can produce. And they say, well, I invest in tests like this, in 10 like that. It doesn't matter. 9 of them will fail. 8 of them will fail. 1 will break even. But those ones that make it, it will make for the rest of them. And so, Mike, is it how tech is really different of a traditional business? Because I hear that a lot, that when I say to guys, you have this software, but you have to make this product market fit. Ask your clients if they want to buy. If they don't want to buy, ask your client what kind of form they want the product, what type of business model you're going to have. Keep the communication with your client. Don't do what you want. Don't do what you think. Do listen to the clients, which is something that you need to do in traditional business, otherwise you never succeed. And so, Mike, in your restaurant, do you serve the food that you like, or you serve the food that the customer want? I remember that I have octopus. I created a Spanish tapa, and I was selling octopus, and nobody was ordering this thing. The octopus costed me a lot of money, so I removed that thing from the menu. We had to listen to the client. So how different is tech from the traditional business?
Like I said, with our restaurants, we start from the customer. And if the customer doesn't like a particular product, we need to change it. And so all businesses are similar from that aspect. There's just different specialties that go into each business, right? Manufacturing deals with equipment and a higher degree of specialty and skill set, and technology, very different in restaurants. So it really boils down to obviously experience and different skill sets and different types of equipment. Obviously, what makes tech so attractive is it's scalable, right? So once you create technology in a product, and then you have a real,
and that's the reason why we have so many millionaires.
And that obviously works a lot better to scale. Listen, it's a lot easier to scale a technology product if you have the right sales team to go out and find new customers than it is to scale a fine dining restaurant. I mean, that's much more difficult in terms of the staff that you need to have. So that's really the main point of, all businesses are started around the same foundation and require a very similar skill set in how you start a business. But the operations of the business are very different, and then the scalability becomes very different. And then also the profit margins are a lot different. Obviously, once you develop technology, the profit margins can be quite attractive. And so obviously you see higher valuations in that space. But to answer your question, yes, in order to start businesses, no matter what sector you're in, it does, there's a lot of similarities that go into it. The business and the economics just look a little different across each sectors. But it's, like I say, it's very good for entrepreneurs. Sometimes entrepreneurs, the challenge is they only know one thing. And so they've just been in one space and their mind's sort of conditioned to how things operate in this one space. And so some of the best advice I give to these young entrepreneurs is go out there and try new things. Figure out what you like and you don't like. And, the career path may take some different, shapes and turns. But at the end of the day, you can figure out what you don't like and what you like. And that really will give you a little bit more peace of mind in where you choose to maybe develop your business or solve your problem. But that's not easy to do. Nobody wants to be in a job that they don't like. And as technology is rapidly advancing and making all these headlines, you see the younger generation where everyone's growing up with, smartphones, TikTok, now AI. And so the whole world's just being conditioned to being in love with technology. And so that's going to create some challenges in other spaces. I mean, my partner's a CPA and an accountant. And if you look at the statistics on, I don't know the exact numbers, but there was a staggering statistic that showed how the world will be short a significant number of accountants in the next 5 or 6 years because the younger generation growing up, accounting is not attractive to them. Some of these professions just aren't as attractive, and everyone's so enthralled with technology. And so now on the flip side, that's going to create opportunity, right? So it's going to create opportunity for people in some of those spaces. So, the advice we give to a lot of entrepreneurs is be open-minded when you're young, try new things. And that was one of the best things that I did. And I didn't do it by design, but I had the luxury of being in a lot of different sectors. And some of the jobs I had, I just, at the time, it was something that I really didn't like as much, but going through those motions and having those experiences when I look back upon was probably the best thing that I did because it just gave me such a unique perspective. And so, again, easy to say, but hard to do.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.